Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
If you didn't, I'm going to be hurt. It's going to be hurt. Where's my numbers log? There it is. All right. Fidgety Aura. There he is. Jose, what's happening? John Doe. Fiddleback Guy. How you doing? Todd Purdon. Peppa H. Nice to have you here. Thurston Howell III. How's Lovey? Bee Gees. How you doing? Good to have you here, man. Boz Monster, how are you? Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here, everybody. Remember, if you're in Austin, Texas, and you see Uncle Dale, rub his Power Stash for 21 days of good luck. Nucker, Cecil, and Dry Toast, how you guys doing? Thanks for coming on in. Willow Trees, good to see you here. Hi, Sensational Sherry. Howard, nice to have you both here. Olin, nice to have you back. Mandingo, thank you for joining us. Really do appreciate it, man. The Ronald Penton is here, everyone. The Ronald Penton. Longhorn Paranormal, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for the shout-outs on Instagram. Jeff Steve Garvey, the gorgeous Manitoba Becky, our resident Wheat Queen. Gorgeous Marie, there you are. And we continue on down. BBD Warrior, good to see you. Brock Landers, nice to have you back. We're going to run out of time because here we go. Of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. It is that time once again where we head on down. We all load up on the Woo train because our Keith Andrews is back for the ET Connection. Once a month, we bring in Keith to talk about everything, the who, what, where, when, why, and how of extraterrestrial contact. Keith is a lifelong experiencer who now spends his time helping those who have had experiences themselves. Keith, how you doing, buddy?
Not bad at all. Glad to be here.
It's very good to have you here, my friend. Very good to have you here. What have you been up to?
Well, rearranging my office, replacing my old computer system with a brand new setup, and working out exactly how I'm going to pull all the books off. Works out. I mentioned I was writing 32 books at the same time. 17 of them are actually tied to the same story.
Well, that's like chapters, man.
Something like that, yeah.
My goodness. How's things going on the alien front?
They've been interesting. Haven't been getting a lot of sleep lately.
No?
Because, I mean, even with regards to the fires that have been going on, they've been keeping very close tabs on exactly how people are responding to that. Primarily to see just exactly how humans are going to deal with it.
In what regard?
Well, whether they're actually going to figure out that they've got the same problem that there have been on many planets, where humans are looking at each other going, you're the wrong color, therefore, you're not quite built the same way, so we're going to fear you. But the reason that the aliens are actually watching the fires take place is because, like they keep saying, when are people going to figure out that nature doesn't care who you vote for? It doesn't care what your pocketbook looks like, and it sure doesn't care what color you are. It's still going to treat you the same way.
Very true. Very true. So with that, I mean, have the extraterrestrials been around you lately? And
oh, yeah.
Where are they coming from this time?
Well, in this case, I ended up actually going topside because we had a couple of new races show up, and they literally, the consortium wanted me to actually have a word with them because they were looking at humans going, there is no functional organization. Why can we not go down there and deal with them? Right, which is essentially correct. But ironically, humans actually have a lot going for them. But there's only, I mean, the latest group that we just had in, we actually had, while I was up on deck, there was actually a tour that came in. And see, the Martokians actually send their kids over here. It's what's called field trip.
Makes sense.
You know, for those that don't know, the Martokians are actually Martians. They live on Mars. They aren't little, but they are green. And they certainly don't look like Marvin.
I want to ask you about that because that's an interesting question. A lot of people, and especially myself lately, have been wondering, do we really have, or how many ETs do we have that are on this planet right now, maybe taking vacations, doing studies, who are mixing among us, much like we would see on the movie Men in Black?
I cannot give you a number, certainly not an accurate one, but if you combine all the races and the scattered venue that we've got to work with, I would have to say a bare minimum of at least 10,000 scattered around. And these are not all human looking. If we take into consideration the ones underground, we probably have closer to 1 million. And this is why I look at it going, they're not worried, they're not trying to conquer Earth, because that would be child's play, assuming they had any idea on that. The reality is there are a number of races that look close enough to human that you wouldn't notice. Right.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what I'm trying to figure out, because for many of us, I look around and I wonder, could that person be an alien? Could that person be an alien? I mean, I'm weird that way. And I'm wired that way. And I would love to be able to know if we actually have that happening. Like, if we go down to Vegas or Disneyland or go fishing on the river or take in a ball game or a football game or a hockey game, could we be sitting beside extraterrestrials?
In my opinion, and in my experience, the answer is definitively yes. See, for me, it's easy because, well, frankly, they feel funny. And I know that sounds odd, but it's the best way I can put it. The reality is there is a difference in their bearing, in their comprehension levels. Some people that you watch, you look at. I ran into one the other day on the internet. I actually sent them a picture, or not a picture. I sent them a question. I literally asked them if that picture was actually really them, because it just looked so far off the norm to my eyes that I figured, no, that's either just a complete mock-up, or if it's real, then we have, then we've got an interesting setup. As it turned out, they were very real. And they are certainly not from around here. So, yeah, we do have some, who was it now? Shirley MacLaine wrote a book years ago called Aliens Among Us. I think it was Shirley MacLaine that wrote it. And it is all too accurate.
Okay, so Where would we find some of them aliens to see? Is it going to UFO conferences? Is it just going around in public to the local shopping mall, the grocery store, for a hike in the forest?
The first Martokian I ran into was a Dairy Queen.
What do they think?
It turns out they like ice cream. But you see them in everyday places. It's not like they go hiding. Yeah, they're a little bit more relaxed if you go to a UFO conference.
But how do you tell you are sitting or standing beside an alien?
Now, I would love to give you a definitive way of telling that, but my way of telling it is they literally feel different. The energy pattern coming off of them is a different vibratory rate than that coming off of a human. This is why I say it feels different. And for any of the sensitives that are out there that can feel the shift in energy, they may not recognize what they're looking at, but it feels decidedly different than what a human does. Okay, if you liken it to the feeling of say, for instance, the feeling of a dog when it's standing beside you as compared to the feeling of a child, the energy pattern is completely wrong. Right, and it's the same when you're dealing with the different races.
Okay, explain that with the different races.
Each race has a different feel to it. Like, I mean, you walk out into the park. Just for instance, the first Arborian I ran into he literally lives in the park across from me. And I went to walk by him, and all I literally heard was, "What, you're going to ignore me?" I'm like, "No, just waiting for you to wake up." And then there's just absolute silence for a second, and all of a sudden he goes, "Wait a minute, you can hear me." This is a good guess. But to me, I mean, you'll find them anywhere. One of the biggest drawbacks, and this is a decided concern of mine personally, is even if I could give a definitive, this is how you can tell, people get so edgy about the possibility of it that it could result in some pretty bad outcomes.
Keith, I want to ask you about that because in the UFO community, and I know you try and stay away from it as much as possible, even though this is kind of your everyday life, what we have been seeing within the community has been a lot of anger and vitriol towards experiencers about whether or not they are telling the truth about their stories, because the claims seem to be very outrageous to a lot of people. Not just you. I've taken criticism. Other experiencers have taken criticism as well. How do you combat that?
Well, I like the way it was phrased one day by one chap I was talking to. And what he said was, for those that believe, no proof is required. For those that do not believe, no proof is likely possible. Okay, which is why I tell people, whether you believe me or not is not my concern, because I can't alter the way other people think. All I can do is control the way that I respond to what they do.
Right.
The hardest part for most experiencers, and I'm noticing this changing to a degree, slowly, but at least it's changing, is even amongst the experiencers, you get a new experiencer coming forward, and they approach other people in the field and go, "I think I've been taken." It almost gets brushed off a lot of the time. But then the way it was put to me ages ago was, well, actually it wasn't put to me. It was actually quoted on the original Star Trek. Right. And the way it was quoted wasn't to do with aliens, but the way it was quoted was often the having is not so pleasing as the wanting. In other words, it's a real good, where that applies is it's a really good idea to go, gee, I really want to meet an alien. But when you actually get face to face with them, it can be really disconcerting. So I mean, from my standpoint, when people get aggressive about it, I just look at them and go, okay, and I just drop the subject. Because there is no point in my eyes.
But is that criticism fair?
Fair, in my opinion, it's fair because virtually everybody does it. Therefore, it's fair. Is it right or is it intelligent? No. It is judgment based in fear and based in the unknown, which by the nature of the industry is the backbone of the situation.
Okay.
Like
here's what I believe. I believe the audience or those who are questioning it have every right to question the experience. That's only fair.
Absolutely.
All right. However, the vitriol that people are showing towards this field, I think, is becoming very, very disruptive. Because, and I understand why. Everyone wants the science. Everyone wants the government to come out and say what they have or what they know. Everybody wants the proof. They're tired of the stories. And I can fully understand and appreciate that. But when it comes down to real people having real experiences that they cannot explain for themselves that have affected them, I wonder how many more experiencers are going to go back in the closet and say, no, this ain't worth talking about. Definitely not worth talking about.
I see a staggering number of them do that. And the thing that has always confused me about that, and it's never, people have explained it and it still doesn't add up, is why people are turning to the government to say it's real. The government, there are so many complications with them coming out and going, it's absolutely real. But it's not the government that you got to deal with. It's the actual people on the ground. Yes, there are some members of government that have been taken. Okay, there absolutely are. But there are a far greater number of just your common populace. But you are right with the amount of vitriol going towards people. People are dropping out of the system. Some very well placed people are just going, I've had enough.
Right. I can see that. I can totally see that. All right, let's move on to our first audience question of the night. Comes from Joe in California. Uncle Keith, are there any aliens that might look human that you could tell from their smell?
From my standpoint, the answer is yes. Okay, some of them, and I am talking about actual olfactory scent. But whether other people can or not, I just can't speak to that because I presume that some can. I just don't know for certain if other people do it that way.
What do they smell like?
Well, that depends. Depending on the race. I mean, quite frankly, when you start looking at the lichen, quite often they smell like wet fur, as does the Wara. But the Wara has a funny feel to it that's even more pronounced than what the smell is. There are a couple of races that smell like, well, frankly, and that's just rude, but it is right. They smell like dead fish.
That's not pleasant to the nostrils.
No, it's not. Now, I ran into one the other day that, I kid you not, smelled like lilacs in full bloom. Not a bad smell.
Well, that's a nice smell. Okay, well, while we're waiting for more questions from our audience, when you make contact with these extraterrestrials, a lot of people always say, Keith, why is it always you? Why isn't it me? Why isn't it members of our audience? Why Why you all the time?
The only thing I can come up with is, and each person has to answer this question for themselves. Okay. But from my standpoint, I do not look at anybody as being better than or worse than anybody else. I'm talking just as far as humans go. Okay. You can show me somebody's bank account, whether they're a millionaire or a pauper, I'll treat them exactly the same way. Right. Whether they're black, yellow, white, brown, I don't care. Right. To me, I just don't treat anybody differently. I treat them based on the way they behave. And that is a critical function given what I do. Given where I'm going with these people. Because if you get edgy around somebody's skin color or the fact that they're taller than you, right, you can't be picking somebody up and taking them out amongst a whole pile of people that are definitely different. And that's the only thing I've ever been able to figure out. And of course, the fact that I've been doing this since birth, right? And literally in a manner of speaking, I got into an argument, as it were, with the Council of 12 the day I was born. They asked me where I was going, and I went, I'm done here. And they went, wait a minute, you signed a contract, you've got stuff to do down there. And I went, I didn't sign up for that abuse. Well, the long and the short of it was I did end up back here for obvious reasons. Well, clearly I got back here.
Oh, I love you, man. I love you. Hey, let's get to another question from Greco. Is ufology turning into a religion?
I guess you could qualify it as that. But I have a little bit of a problem with the turning into. It's always been that way. When people have a concise belief structure, it becomes either a religion or a quasi-religion. Okay, and when you get enough people believing the same thing.
For the ones going above and beyond. For the ones reaching out, helping out, and lending a hand. For the ones people count on. You can count on Grainger. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry. Backed by 24/7 customer support and specialists to help with hard-to-find products. Because you've got everyone's back. We've got yours. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger. For the ones who get it done.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
They will follow that path, and then they'll look for the people that are the leaders in those fields and go, that's the person that has the information. Right. So has it become a little bit more in that department? In some ways, I suppose it could be put that way. But what you do with it, I mean, if we're wondering whether there's going to be some sort of an owner's manual or a socioeconomic, what's the word I'm looking for? Treaties on it.
Right.
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, let's get to Greg's question here. If I stay in the forest long enough, will I see an arborean? And we got under 2 minutes to go.
Well, whether you'll see one, the problem is you probably already have seen one. The question that you got to ask, and this one I can't give you an answer to, is will you recognize one? Because arboreans are literally, you'll find them everywhere from trees to ferns to little, to your little wispy little shrubs and what have you. But every one of them, if you listen right, if you get in tune with them, every one of the trees out there will talk to you.
I agree with that. Can I make a statement here if you don't mind?
Not in the slightest. Go
I
ahead.
have never in my life been a tree hugger at all, okay? But if you literally, and most of us won't do this because it sounds really stupid and geeky, but if you actually go up and hug a tree and show that tree love, you can actually feel that tree's energy coming back into you. It is the most amazing thing. And
You absolutely can.
yeah. I never believed that until I did it for myself. Let's get another. Actually, you know what? Let's just continue on that for a second because we got about 30 seconds, Keith.
Okay. Yeah. The arboreans they have a wide array of appearances. And much as they all speak the same, whatever tree it is, if you watch Tolkien, if you watch The Lord of the Rings,
Right.
what they call ants, that one scene where they've got all the different trees coming, arboreans are that way. They come in every walk, but they're not extremely prolific, but they do get around.
All right, Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to continue with audience questions as we do with our Keith Andrews every time he's here once a month on the ET Connection here on Spaced Out Radio. ET Talk, aliens, ET abductions, contact, UFOs, you name it, we're getting into it next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, brother, we're clear.
Now, why would Vinny put that in there?
Oh, that's Vinny. I haven't read it yet. I'm not caught up yet.
Yeah, he just put something in there that I just don't cotton to personally. You'll find it eventually.
Let me see. What was Vinster saying? Dave pays prostitutes just to cuddle? Oh, you're terrible, Vinny. You are terrible. You are terrible. You're on Grandpa's Aqua Velva again, aren't you? Uh-huh. Your gout is flaring up because Vinny has a bad case of gout. I am so behind in the chat room by now. Hey, Aussie Ange, I was serious, so could we connect on Facebook or Instagram, my personal Instagram, not my the SOR Instagram, about what we were talking about? She is my fitness guru in Australia, because old Davey would like to lose about 40 to 50 pounds. Damn you, Vin. Oh, I'm having a good night. Anytime our Keith is here, it's a good time, isn't it?
Oh, I can't speak to that. I'm with him all the time.
Damn.
But
just these awesome people with their super chats tonight. Holy cow.
oh yeah, it's been rolling in solid tonight.
I am so blessed by my audience. So blessed. It makes me emotional sometimes.
Well, I mean, I'm amazed at the number of people that come in, and the questions that come across are just phenomenal.
Aren't they awesome?
You never know where they're coming from. You know, it's like you never know what's going to come up.
They're so smart.
Yeah.
Our audience is so smart, dude. They are so smart.
Well, some of the questions that they come up with are just, I'm standing there going, okay, and you're wondering whether or not, you know, like I question like you do, like, how do you really separate what we're looking at and what the world is seeing? And I'll tell you, these questions that come up through your audience are phenomenal. You know, they basically eliminate the question of, do people have an idea of what's going on? Clearly they do, because they're asking questions. They're just not getting the answers.
Well, like Michael here, what kind of alien looks like a bear? Because I think there's one by Dave's house. We've had a bear running around here recently.
Yeah, I got it. I got to remember what the heck. I was going to call it lichen, but there's another name for it.
I've seen our bear 3 times. You want to see a picture?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Cool. Where is he here? I'll give you this one up in the tree. There he is up in the tree. This is yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That ain't a bear.
Yeah, he's a beautiful guy.
Oh, he is, but he ain't a bear. Yeah.
There he is. Staring right in there. Here, I'll zoom in on him so that way you can see him. There he is.
Yeah.
He was a big black bear. Gorgeous. Healthy. Happy. Couldn't care less. Right after that picture was taken, he actually decided to have a nap up in the tree.
Well, they sleep up there a lot of the time. That's why I was asked one day years ago by a woodsman. He goes, "Do you know how to tell the difference between a black bear and a grizzly bear?" And I went, "Yeah." And I explained the physical difference. And he goes, "No, there's an easier way." He says, "For the uninitiated, the easiest way to tell the difference between a black bear and a grizzly bear, climb a tree."
Mm-hmm. Either way.
He goes, "The black bear will come up after you. The grizzly bear will tear the tree down."
Yep, pretty much.
You know. And if it's a Kodiak, he'll just stand up and slap you.
Pretty much. And, all right, we got about 30 seconds here. I want to say a big thank you so far to Crazy Smith, times 3, Black Dragon, times 2, Brock, Flash Forward, Space Cow, Nicola, let's see here, Greg, Mandingo, and Lori, Jenny, Ange, and Swampy for the amazing super chats. I know there's a few more up there that I haven't got to yet. I will get to it. Thank you to all the veterans who listen to this show. We absolutely love you. You always have a safe place here in our chat room and with this show. Thank you to all the regulars as well. Here we go, the second half hour. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. I'm Dave Scott, the guy behind the microphone, the guy who leads you as the captain of the Woo Train. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection tonight. We always do audience questions from our chat rooms on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And Keith, we're going to get to you right now. This is Patty, who is asking, does any part of Mobius look like Earth?
Relatively speaking. Essentially, it's the same ecology. It's just, it doesn't have the wars. It doesn't have the conflict. And 99% of the structures are, although they're physical, they're not physically built. As in, they are built by literal physical manifestation.
Okay. Could a human survive on there?
Easily. You could pick a human up from here, put him on Mobius, and aside from the fact that he would have a lot of trouble in all likelihood adjusting to the social differences, the ecology and the topology and that side of it, biology, what have you, it's the same sort of setup.
Right.
Because you got to understand, it's in literally the same orbit as Earth.
All right, well, let's move on here to another question. Mennonite Abe is asking, Keith, what was the race of the aliens at Roswell?
Well, that sort of depends on who you ask. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the reports, they reported grays, which was a cute thought, but they were Strazazian. It's funny because I went, and the first UFO conference I went to, I was talking to a young lass, and of course Roswell came up. So I laid out the crash site for her, and she goes, "Where did you find that? It's never been published." She goes, "My grandfather was at the site." Right. But I told her, I says, there were 5 bodies on board. Problem was that 3 of them were dead on impact. 2 were dead on impact. 1 was critically wounded, and another one survived. But the one that was critically wounded had a child. And that child was turned over to I forget the name of the Indian tribe that was there. I'm trying to remember what the name of the Indian tribe was. But it was turned over to them to take care of, to get it out of sight of as it was put, of the white people. Right. Because the Europeans were way too edgy. Right. So they turned it over to the natives that were there, and I forget the actual tribe. I'd recognize it if I heard it. The one that survived did end up dealing with the American military, and lived for, from what I understand, about 15 years.
Cool. All right, Mandingo in New Zealand is asking, how can I contact ET? Never had an experience. Is it because we have no nukes in New Zealand?
Hate to be the one to pop their bubble. But no, ET does not contact people because of their proximity to nukes. As far as how to draw them, I've heard a lot of reports, and, in my case, I just wait and they show up. It's funny, just a couple of weeks back, we had a situation. I all of a sudden stopped what I was doing and walked outside, and my son looks at me and goes, "Dad, are you getting taken tonight?" I said, "Apparently." And sure enough, I ended up topside. But my son just takes it in stride now. But this idea that people have that you take a laser, like a Terran-built laser, and shine it in the sky to get their attention, to try and draw one to you to have an experience. Number one, it's unlikely, in my opinion. Now, people have reported all sorts of things, but I really question the logic behind it, because there are aliens up there. You just don't want to get their attention. They seem to have their own way of deciding who they're picking up.
All right, let's move on to another question here. This one comes from Vinman. Keith, are visitations affected by the seasons? More during the warmer seasons?
It's not so much the seasons, but if you watch astronomy at all, reports are that when Mars is at its closest point to Earth, the UFO sightings are just about triple the volume of the rest of the year. But as far as the actual seasons go, I've never noticed a real difference.
Do you think it has to do with climate? Does it have anything to do with where the people are located? Okay, does it matter on the government? Does it matter, the socioeconomic system of each country?
The government has little to nothing to do with it, because they don't pay attention to government laws any more than the government does. But they turn around and they will come and pick people up, depending on what they're trying to research. It'll absolutely have to do with the socioeconomic state of wherever they are. Okay. And especially on the transitory position, like if you see one area of community, if you see the socioeconomic side of it either starting to tank or starting to climb, that will draw them in very quickly, because a lot of what they're researching is the subquantum impact of migratory stress. Right, and people start to move as the socioeconomic situation changes.
All right, makes sense. Let's move on. Magnus is asking, do other human-like aliens share a similar diet to us? Example, the food they eat?
Similar, yes. Although depending on which ones, like when you look at the Mobians have a very similar diet to humans. Well, they originated here. But the one big difference is they do not have the amount of toxins in their food. You know, they don't use the amount of preservatives. They don't use the amount of pollution. So much as it's a similar diet, it has a much crisper flavor to it. You know, and there are other races that have the same sort of a setup. There are some that you look at what they're eating and you're going, okay, I can't look at it, never mind eat it. You know.
Rock and roll, man. All right, Dominique is asking, Keith, can you say anything about 2028, 2029? Have you heard about whether there's going to be a planned reveal or family reunion between the hybrids and their human donors?
Not an en masse one. Not from what I've heard, although the reunions are becoming more and more frequent. Donors are being, part of what they're finding is that introducing the donors to the children and giving them time to get to know them does help with the evolution and thus the growth of the hybrids. See, if you're trying to evolve, the hybridization program was designed as a way to grow cultural interpreters. And by what they found is by introducing the people to their children, they found that it helps the evolution of that cultural development, of the understanding, which makes it so much more effective. But from everything I've seen, and from everything I've talked to them about, they're not planning on a mass reveal.
I still think the big reveal, whenever it is, I'm hearing, is within 20 to 30 years. And the reason why is they, as in the governments who are covering this up and the programs, seem to understand that the old people of this planet, the older generations, I should say, the 45 and up crowd, the majority of us still do not have much belief in the phenomena, whereas the young starseeds and indigo children that have been born over the last 20 years are much more spiritually inclined to connect, and they are going to be much more accepting of the fact that there is alien life out there, because they are searching and seeking for their own spirituality and their own spiritual path, and more accepting of everybody. So that is what I am hearing from my insiders.
And to me, that makes sense. You know, to me, that makes absolute sense. It's kind of funny that topic, especially with you making that comment, it's kind of intriguing that the question came up earlier about, is ufology becoming its own religion?
Right.
And of course, we can go a really twisted way there and go, if that's going to happen, I guess that makes you the Pope. Because I don't want the job. You know?
All right, let's move on to another question. Flash Forward is asking, do you think the James Webb Telescope will find alien homes?
You're going to have to bring me up to speed.
Well, it's a very powerful telescope that's out there that has the ability and the capacity to look, you know, way onto distant planets and you know, much like the antiquated Hubble telescope.
Yeah, I was kind of figuring that was the issue. I didn't, you know, sad to say, as we all know, I don't keep up on that side of it. But the answer is, there is no doubt they'll be able to spot them. Now, if they're wise, they won't go up there and open fire and go, "Are you friendly?" Because I'll tell you, that does not make these people happy.
Life Dweller's asking, how does someone who's never had any kind of paranormal experience have a paranormal experience?
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
I sometimes call it shock factor, but, or luck of the draw. The easiest way to do it, and you're going to love this one because it's completely twisted. If you're just looking for a paranormal experience, go to a graveyard at midnight on a full moon and listen. And I know that sounds twisted, but it is amazing what you can feel out there.
It really is.
I mean, the reality is that your paranormal experiences literally are something that is just outside of your norm. Okay. As far as how do you go about getting abducted? Well, how do you not is more my problem.
Well, I mean, it's not like you could leave a little plate of food and a glass of milk and say, here, this is for you to come down the chimney and abduct me. It's not really the way it works.
No, for some people that may work. I know Santa Claus does that a lot, but what the heck? But no, it's not like you can hang a sign and go abduct me and somebody will come along. And in all fairness, you really don't want to draw those people to you anyway.
No, I understand that, but I think in this case, too, it should be mentioned, Keith, that having an experience isn't just about having an experience. When you put that energy out to the universe, you are literally opening yourself up to everything. You have to be very specific with what you want.
Well, what you desire anyway, but the other catch is this. People keep looking for how do I have an experience. What many of them do not think through is it changes your life entirely. Once you go from believing it's possible to being hit in the face with the fact it's physically really there, it completely disables your entire life. The whole way you've looked at your life gets completely turned upside down. I've lost friends. As a matter of fact, the best man at my first wedding, he came to me. He knew I was a little odd. And he came to me about 5 years after I got married and goes, look, when you were just a little weird, that was okay. But he says, now that you've become professional in public, he says, I just can't deal with you anymore. I haven't spoken to him in 20 years because of it.
Right.
Actually, I think it's closer to 30 now.
Right.
But when you're looking for an experience, you got to realize this is not just that one little event. It's going to turn your whole world upside down. And I don't say this as a way of scaring anybody into going, oh, I don't want to experience it. It's just the reality behind it.
And that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's Bigfoot, aliens, UFOs, or ghosts. I mean, look, when I opened up, I know that within 2 days of my first experience, my entire house all of a sudden was haunted. And we had never noticed anything of the essence before that had happened. And then it just became extremely obvious right off the bat. All right, Keith, we'll let you grab that as we continue on here with the ET Connection and our Keith Andrews. Keith is technically still on shift for his own job while we are doing the show. And so we're just going to continue on here on Spaced Out Radio. Chuck is asking, has any of the ET races indicate who here on Earth they would first likely contact to be on the global scale like the UN, or would they rather deal with the general public, us believers, first? Good question. From what I know about that, and it's going to sound really, really stupid, okay, Chuck? From what I've been able to kind of piece together from talking to a number of people, I think the movie Men in Black is as real as it could get, that a lot of these species are actually checking in with pieces of government. I remember one of our former guests, I'm not going to say who because he told me this way off the record, he used to work for the NSA. And he walked into an office to get some files, and he was actually watching a transcript being printed out on the old style ball jet printers, okay, of an alien transmission from an extraterrestrial species coming to Earth. And he never, ever talks about that publicly because of his NDAs. But that scared him. It scared him big time that he had actually seen that with his own eyes. Now, once again, is there proof? No, we got to take the man at his word. But I think that it is more like the Men in Black, where they almost have to check in when they are coming here. I really do believe that. Really do believe that. See if Keith is ready here. Keith, are you ready? No, he is not. Okay, so that's the way I think it really is like the movie Men in Black. I think that's probably a very fair assessment on saying that, because with that happening, I really do believe that there are a number of species that the governments of the world are in contact with. Paul Hellyer, before he passed away, said the Canadian government alone was at minimum in contact with 2 different species. Lord knows how many of the Americans, the Russians, or the Chinese, or the Brits are involved with this, and how many they are involved with as well. So there's a number of little questions that need to be answered regarding that. Do they check in? I think they do. And that's how we know. That's how we got the technology. I don't buy the story that states we don't know where they are, who they are, where they're coming from. I don't buy it at all. Do not buy it at all. Why? Because they've known for 70 plus years since Roswell. And if you start asking the proper questions, or the media started asking the proper questions regarding this, we would see a heck of a lot more answers. Because what it does is it opens up to a lot of these conspiratorial questions that we have over the years. Did aliens survive, like Keith believes, Roswell? If so, where are those beings?
Well, the child is currently off-world.
You're back.
We are.
Okay, but you heard, obviously, some of my statement there.
Yes, I did.
Would you agree that there is sort of like a Men in Black check-in for aliens coming in to Earth?
There is, but it's not a global setup. Each country has their own version of it, as far as I understand. Right. They do have a global setup, or a sector setup is more to the point, on the dark side of the moon. But that's not run by humans.
All right, let's get to Vinny's question, as we got about 2 minutes left here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour, Keith. Is Planet X going to destroy Earth?
Nope. Planet X isn't a planet. if Planet X were a planet, then the trajectory it's coming in on would not only destroy Earth, it would destroy the entire solar system. Okay, but Planet X, a planet doesn't slow down. Okay, it doesn't alter direction. And it certainly doesn't alter its gravitational field. So, is Planet X going to destroy Earth? No. They're coming back to see how Earth has evolved. And this part of it will scare the living daylights out of a lot of people. Because it's who's on so-called Planet X that is going to create a problem.
Who's there?
The Anunnaki.
Well, they're not so bad.
No, they're just huge.
I know.
But no, Planet X is not going to destroy Earth.
All right, we got 1 minute left. Let's get over to Patty's question. Are they taking new families? Extraterrestrial. ETs. In abductions.
Quite frankly, yes. There is absolutely no question there. They have to, because the old families keep dying out. But that and the fact that they're picking up new bloodlines, because you can't do proper research if you stick to only the bloodlines that have been involved all along. They've got to understand the socioeconomic impact of the new experiencers.
Right. Okay. Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we're at that time of the hour where we got to go to break. It's that simple. We got to do that for our radio station so that way they can chime on in with the commercial breaks, and we're okay with that around here because we are a live radio show here on Spaced Out Radio. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection happens the first week of every month here on Spaced Out Radio, edition number 9 with Keith here in 2021, where we talk all things extraterrestrial, where we talk all things alien, ET cover-ups, disclosure, UFOs, and everything to do with the woo. So come jump on the woo train. Next hour, we're going to continue with audience questions. And what is Keith's opinion of Anjali? We'll be back on Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, buddy, we're clear.
Okay, go and grab a coffee.
Yeah. Chat room, I just want to let you guys know that I am about 21 minutes behind. So if I haven't got to your question yet, I will get to it, I promise, because I'm all going in order as we speak. And it is looking good. Looking good. So by the time the commercial break ends, I'll be about 26, 27 minutes behind. I am trying to catch up, though. Just give me some strength. Give me some strength. Oh, I have an itch on my back. Hold on. Gary, you're Dutch. Just so you know. You're really Dutch. And, since Gary the Dutchman is tuning on in, snacking on some bacon chips, I'm going to introduce us to the Old Mighty Moose Beard Oil, my favorite kind, winter blend. If you ever want to piss off a Dutchman, the one thing you have to do is say, hey, give me a discount. There is nothing that will put a Dutch person into a heart attack mode more than anybody asking for a financial discount from them. But we did it. We are successful here at Spaced Out Radio. Gary doesn't like it, okay, but we force him to do it. So let me show you how this works. Nice squeeze bottle here. You just squeeze the top, all right? You drop some in your hand like so. Put this back so you don't lose it. All right? Then you rub it into your hands. And if you have a longer beard than old I do, or like Keith's pork chops there, you just massage it in. You massage it in. Smells great. But your hands, you still got the oil on. What do? Don't wash them. Just rub it in your hair. Ladies, this is great for your hair as well. Okay, it's all natural, no chemicals. And it helps prevent split ends. Look how fine my hair looks now. Look how gorgeous my mane looks. Not as good as Joe's in the chat room. But MightyMooseBeard.com is the website. Use promo code, if you really want to piss Gary the Dutchman off, use promo code SOR 2019. And if you guys go flooding it right now during the break, literally, Gary will spill all of his chips and dip all over his stomach. That's going to piss off his beautiful wife, who just celebrated a birthday. Happy birthday, Allie, by the way. She's not Dutch. And it's going to cause a big mess in the Dutch household. So literally, everyone, just go to MightyMooseBeard.com. Use promo code SOR2019. You're going to piss off Gary. You're going to get some great beard oil or hair oil, whatever you want to call it, and you go from there. That's the way to do it. MightyMooseBeard.com. All right. There we go.
And there you have a commercial.
Mm-hmm. And Gary's typing me right now. He's going to probably pissing himself laughing right now. Oh, hey, Clam. Thanks for that password, E. No problem, Dutch. We love you, man. Give your wife a big hug from all of us.
How be doing?
Gary's like, I gotta go pee now. I'm laughing so hard.
Well, you definitely want to leave your chair then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wonder how many potato chip crumbs Allie's going to have to vacuum up in the morning.
Well, that depends. If she gets mad enough, she won't have to vacuum any.
Yeah, get Gary to vacuum it.
Mm-hmm.
Get Gary to vacuum it. That's right. All right, we got just over a minute. I want to say a big thank you to Vinster, Crazy Smith, Black Dragon, Brock, Flash Forward, Space Cow, Nicola, Greg, Mandingo, Lori, Jenny, Ange, and Swampy for the amazing super chats. Really do appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio on a nightly basis. We're going to continue on with the audience questions as we enter hour 2 with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, of course, and a big thank you to all the veterans out there who are listening in. We absolutely love you. You always have a good home here on Spaced Out Radio and in our chat room. And, of course, to all the regulars out there who are here each and every night. Gosh, you guys are awesome and brilliant and very dedicated, and we absolutely love you for it. So thank you so much in spreading the love and the word of the mighty SOR. It really helps us grow each and every night. We see it in our numbers, we see it in our chat rooms, and it's all because of you guys. So thank you so much for helping us out that way. And we're going to get going here in 5 seconds. So sit back, relax, get your horns up. Here comes Bumblefoot.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live. Looking for our archives? They are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Negentropy. Negentropy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. We continue on talking all things extraterrestrial and supernatural as we bring Keith back into the show. And Keith, we're going to continue with audience participation here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. None the slightest. The questions are phenomenal.
Space Cow, good Canadian kid, is asking, do you think Nikola Tesla conversed with an alien race?
Well, the best I can tell you there is it wouldn't be a shock. But what I do know of him is that his inventions weren't alien. They were his.
What do you mean they were his?
As in, he had a phenomenal mind that was way beyond the human norm.
Right.
The thing I find fascinating is so many people take a look at the phenomenal inventions that humans come up with, and they seem to be really quick to credit it with off-world intervention. And in all fairness, most of the major inventions and major breakthroughs have been made by humans themselves. Now, granted, many have been inspired by off-worlders or by nature itself.
All right, moving.
Well, I mean, the invention of the helicopter was inspired by watching a seedling drop.
All right, let's get over to Jenny. What is your opinion of Anjali, the former DOD in the United States employee who now has changed her name to Anjali and is claiming she had ET contact back in 2018, and by the end of this year she's going to take a group of people, from scientists to business people to government officials, into a cave in the Mojave Desert and go meet some aliens, take pictures with them, get some selfies.
Well, she's saying enough to really indicate that, like, I did actually take the time to watch the newscast. Thank you very much, Dave. Heads up like that actually helps me actually answer questions. She does have enough to say to indicate there is no question in my mind she has had an experience. There is no question there, but the amount of ambiguity that she speaks with leaves a...
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
Very big gap in whether or not she's actually made that kind of contact. Now, that's just my personal opinion. I got nothing to work with to give you something solid to say yes or no. But the information that she at least released on that interview didn't give anything of any substantial quality to indicate that she's got the contacts that now she may have them. Like I said, it's just my own opinion on it. But there did not seem to be enough concession, enough information there to really indicate that there was that kind of, if you will, intimate or intricate communication. Okay, that would be the first issue. Now, the other information she's sitting on, where it comes to the understanding of meditation and what have you, that I looked at some of what she had written, and she's very much on the right track.
Do you think, though, I mean, that's some pretty broad claims, though, that she's going to take a group of people and meet aliens in a cave in the Mojave Desert before the end of the year. I mean, this has so many possibilities, and I'm going to be honest with you, the excuse I see, Keith, is when nothing is there, she's going to get a telepathic message saying that there are people in the group who are not ready for this type of contact yet. That's the easy scapegoat out.
And if the logic behind it is pretty much sound. I mean, I have a tendency, as you well know, of biting my tongue even on the radio, even under your coercion, if you will, friendly as though it is, of biting my tongue on a lot of things that I feel. But does that add up? Yes. Now, on the plus side, she's got just enough information to add credence to it. Like, for instance, talking about going under the Mojave Desert. Well, the reality is the Mojave Desert is pretty big, so finding the entrance is going to be fun. But is there activity under the Mojave Desert? Absolutely. But good luck finding the entrance. There are tunnels riddling the entire area.
I'm going to tell you where I'm concerned, and I read this on my latest Day 101 blog that I did. I'm very concerned at the way she has come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden she's the lady who's going to lead us to ET contact. To me, it sounds like we've heard this all before, which we have. I think of Ra in Washington State, and it's almost cultish in a way. I don't think her handlers handled her very well with that. I do believe she is an experiencer, nonetheless. But what scares me is the amount of negativity she is taking and name-calling she is taking on social media. Because I think this has the possibility of having if it fails, and I hope it doesn't, but if it fails, I see it having a very negative impact on everyone who's an experiencer to be called out as fraudulent.
See, from my experience, and this is where, and I'm not debating that's possible, but the number of experiencers that I've talked to that have already gone through that part, I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact on the individual. However, as you said, I hope it pans out, but I have serious doubts. And what I can see happening, though, is if it doesn't pan out, it's going to decimate what's left of her life. And I don't mean it's going to get her killed, but it will put her so far into the other side of the field. She'll go from being respected to being completely cast out if it goes south. And it won't matter how she does, even if she uses, as you suggested, the idea that nothing happens, so she gets a telepathic, I forget what she actually used the term. But she was very clear that it was not telepathic. Right. But it makes total sense that if nothing is there, that if nothing shows, that she will chalk it up to, well, there are people here that weren't ready for it, so they just didn't show. Which, to my way of thinking, has one other little problem. If you're organizing it and they don't show, I'm a firm believer that the organizer is the responsible party. Now, that's just the way I look at pretty much everything.
Yeah,
if an event is being put together and the event is a flop, the organizer is the one that made the serious mistake. But I do question that all of a sudden she has come out of nowhere. And in my opinion, she's made a couple of things that throw so many questions into the air. Like before she came out with on that video conference, she started off by going, like right near the beginning of it, by going, I don't know why the media didn't show up. Right. And then she goes on to talk about how she spent a number of months in the hospital before she came to approach the media. And that's just setting the stage for all kinds of questions. Now, it was only one interview, so I don't know the entire story that's come out before. Although you do have to give her credit for coming out at all.
No, and I do give her credit for coming out at all. I really do. I think that is something that is brave. I mean, my big thing is for her, I would like to, I just hope it doesn't affect the entire community. That is my concern, because there's a lot of experiencers out there who are going to be ridiculed even worse. Let's move on here as we continue on the ET Connection with our Keith Andrews. Jennifer is asking, what is the scariest alien you know about? Pretty please.
Well, scariest, I'm not 100% certain. I do know shadow walkers are a royal pain. You would know them as vampires. But one of the more frightening to look at is the chick-chock, which are quite literally, if you want to get an idea what they look like, you take a look at the movie Alien, starring Sigourney Weaver. Take away the extendable jaw, and there you have the chick-chock. And they are not they're a bit disconcerting to look at. But there are some that are very odd. I don't know about the frightening thing. I suspect many people would find a lot of lichen. And I've come to the understanding that what I know as lichen, many people know as lyran. They come in many different forms, but they are what you would call your lycanthropes. That's only one race of them. Like, that's only one stream of them, if you will. But it sort of depends on how well you handle it. I mean, for some people, unicorns are extremely frightening. If you're afraid of horses, rest assured, you're not going to do well with unicorns.
Very true. Chris is asking, Keith, can you identify races of aliens by their ships?
Sometimes.
Wondering what type of aliens were the Phoenix Lights.
Sad to say, I haven't actually looked at the ships from the Phoenix. I haven't even looked at the video.
That happened in 1997.
That didn't help me a lot. I've heard of the Phoenix Lights. And if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that was a series of lights that were set up in a V formation?
Yes.
That is a consortium scout ship. And it was a big one. If I recall that correctly, now that I know which lights we're referring to, that configuration is a major scout ship. That one would have had little scout ships. They were probably doing a major specimen run. But the consortium is the governing body that handles all of the races in the neighborhood. Or almost all of the races in the neighborhood.
All right, let's move on here. As Tony over in the UK says, Keith, what's your thoughts about cattle mutilations?
It's an issue of checking. I was looking into that the other day. Most of that is an issue of it's a combination. Okay, part of it is to see if cattle, being as they are such a prolific race, are usable as cultural translators, much like humans are. Okay, but there's one race that would be really beneficial for if they could. The secondary aspect is, quite frankly, delicacies.
Okay.
And we are talking, dinner delicacy type setup.
True. I get you there. Robert is asking, have you ever interviewed or talked to an actual starseed?
That depends on your definition of an actual starseed. The answer is, in all likelihood, yes. See, the problem I have with that is I'm still trying to figure out what people are calling a starseed. If that question is have you ever talked to a hybrid? More often than I care to count. Probably more often than I can count.
All right, let's get to Jenny's question. Could doppelgangers be aliens?
Well, number one, they are. So technically the answer would be yes, they could be.
So are aliens going through the Earth then? Because it is said that everybody has a twin and or a triplet on this planet. Could it be then that these extraterrestrials are seeing photos of us on social media or seeing us in person and then dressing up like us, like Halloween, so that way they could go out in public?
And the answer to that is sometimes yes. That's usually the less mature ones. Because the problem with doppelgangers is, and they don't target just humans, but what people are calling doppelgangers are, they will target any race, but they will actually, when they get close to the person, they literally will kill them in the process. Because what they do is they replace them and completely take over their life.
Very understandable. Vinny is asking, does CE5 work?
Well, that again, if I recall correctly, that's the thing about it's about you initiating it.
Yes.
Some people have claimed very successfully being able to do that, and I'm not in a position to argue with them. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go with the idea that it's theoretically possible. Well, have I seen it work myself? No.
I would consider you a CE5 person.
See, and I consider myself a lot of things, and that's why I don't worry about it.
I get you. No, but seriously, I see you as a CE5 person because you have that ability to call in extraterrestrials. You have that ability to communicate at leisure.
They're easier to deal with than humans are most of the time.
Well, I understand that. I do get that. Just saying, though.
Yeah.
Kira is wondering, is there a space portal near Mars?
Now that depends on if we're talking about an actual ship, like one big enough to bring a ship in, or if we're talking personal. Is there docking bays on Mars? The answer is yes, but to the best of my knowledge, they don't actually have a portal inside Mars. They got one just outside of Pluto, just the far side of Pluto. There's a jump point. But they have a tendency of not jumping inside solar systems. Primarily because they're trying not to destroy the solar system with the gravitational, shockwave.
Is there one on Mars? Never mind near Mars, on Mars.
Well, they've got a transporter there. Not technically a portal, As in, it's not an interstellar, it's an interplanetary. Because they've got one sitting on Mars. They can get, that I'm aware of, there are 4 planets they can get to. Well, 3 planets on the moon. Because they've got an actual socioeconomic contract with Venus, and with Venus and the Venusians. They've got access to Earth, and they've got access to the moon. Now, I don't know where else they've got access to, but then, in all fairness, I've never asked.
Okay, so are there other portals that we can hop through? Like, you believe there is, I remember you saying before, you believe there's one on the moon. Where else would these portals be?
Well, considering mankind already has a research station on Io, and they've just, in the last 10 years, set one up on Titan, there are a number of different places that you could go to. Okay, not the least of which would be Uranus itself. And I don't know if they got one. I don't know if the Martokians have one set up on Uranus. But they could certainly have done so. And I know it makes total sense to have one on Io, because that puts it so close to the gas giant that makes, refueling real easy.
Adgeran is asking, do you believe that there are orbs around Dave Scott's head? Just saying. I just asked questions.
Well, considering what I see going on in your room right now, it's not out of my questions. It makes total sense from my standpoint.
I think the weirdest time was when we were simulcasting on Periscope on Twitter. There was an orb that was flying, but I have a Canadian flag that blocks the window. And there was this orb that looked like somebody was shining a flashlight in the window. And I went outside during one of the breaks. There was nobody there. And then it would return. And then on camera, I couldn't see it in my face, but on camera, we would see this orb going literally right in front of my face. There was that a fly in yours, or was that an orb?
That was a fly on my end.
All right. So, and then it would come back, and then it would go behind me, and all of this. It was the weirdest thing, man.
Well, you do remember my telling you when we first started this show that you were being watched, and it wasn't just by the government?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they never call. The government never calls. They're boring.
See, I had the CIA show up on my doorstep, which was really funny.
I remember you saying that. I do. I remember you saying that. We're going to continue with our Keith Andrews here when we come back from the break at the bottom of the hour. More audience questions coming from you as we continue on here and talk everything alien, extraterrestrial, ufological, on the ET Connection with our Keith Andrews. Inner Voice Enterprises, our Keith Andrews on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. More Spaced Out Radio with Keith and myself right after this. All right, we're clear.
Okie doke.
Thank you again, Mandingo, for that amazing super chat. Really appreciate it. So, if anybody wants to know how far behind I am right now on my chat room, it's 10:04 p.m. That's how far back I am, and I am racing to get there. Hey, the Ronald Penton. Super Duke, what's going on? Yeah, I'm in the last commercial break right now. That's kind of funny. And
probably have one at the top of the hour too.
Let's see here. Lunar Tina, how are you? Thanks for coming back. And let's see here. Little Bobby Birkins. All right. We're starting to eat Play-Doh again. And you know what you get like when you eat Play-Doh. And mouthing off my wrenches is not a good way to stay in the chat room. And moving on. Oh, hey, Clam. My goodness, I'm so behind right now.
Yeah, who pray tell is putting souvlaki up for dinner? I haven't had that in years.
Oh, yeah, that's good stuff.
Although we've got a Greek restaurant that's just down the road from us. I should actually drop in there and have it again.
Hi, Troy SR71. There is no Balchinians. There is no Balchinians. All right. Moving on. Moving on. I'm going to have to stop it right there at 10:13.
With MailChimp, you get a whole lot more than a URL. You get an all-in-one marketing platform to help drive sales. That means you can connect your data to make more informed, smarter decisions. And you get powerful automation tools like our Customer Journey Builder to ensure you never miss an opportunity to turn shoppers into loyal customers. So if you're ready to integrate your marketing and boost sales, get started today at MailChimp.com/smartmarketing. MailChimp, built for growing businesses.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
Because that's where Jenny's question is, or Jennifer's question.
So, curiosity, Dave.
Yeah.
Do you find the vape cheaper than the cigarettes were?
Yeah.
Yeah, a chap I know ended up swapping over to vape. He was smoking almost 4 packs a day.
Yeah.
And he went over to vaping, and it saved him like close to $300 a month.
Yeah. My problem is it tastes really good.
Yeah, that can be a problem. That was my problem with alcohol.
This is pineapple. It's funny, I never eat pineapple. Can't stand pineapple, the fruit. But this is fantastic.
Chad, if we're still in YouTube, aren't we?
Hey, Cherry Pepsi Mike, the creator of the piano key tie. How are you? You're leaving already? Mm-hmm. All right, we've got about 90 seconds, Keith. 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Oumuamua, how are you? That's right, Adrian, I am. Well, 1 minute.
Yeah.
I will get to your cat question. Adam, thank you so much for that super chat, Adam. Really appreciate that. All right, I want to say a big thank you to Adam, Mandingo, Vinster, Crazy Smith, Black Dragon, Brock, Flash Forward, Space Cow, Nicola, Greg, and Lori, Jenny, Ange, and Swampy for the amazing super chats tonight. Really do appreciate the love and support you all have for Spaced Out Radio. It really is a pleasure to broadcast to you. Thank you to all the veterans listening into the show, as well as to all of our regulars who are here nightly supporting this show, promoting this show all around the internet and the world. Appreciate you. Here we go, everyone. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. And we want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. As we continue on with the show, Keith is a lifelong experiencer who helps now counsel those who are having their own curiosities or their own experiences themselves. Keith, we're going to start off with Jennifer's question here. And have you ever time traveled?
In one sense, yeah, but not what she's talking about. Have I looked back in time? Absolutely. Have I looked forward in time? Absolutely. The problem with time travel is you can jump forward, but the moment you do, you vanish out of existence here until the rest of society catches up with you, because you cannot go backwards. You just can't do it. Backwards time travel doesn't happen. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But have I looked back through the past histories? Yes. Most of my memories of the past, though, are because I've got memories of past lives.
What do you think of stories, then, like Andrew Bashago claiming to be a child chrononaut?
I'm going to try and put this politely. Did you want a shovel or a backhoe for that story?
So you're not a believer?
Not in the slightest. The thing is, if you go back in time, if you go forward in time, what happens is whatever's going on in your life at this point, all record of it will cease. And then there'll be, let's say you go 10 years down the road and you pop back out. If your fingerprints are on record, 10 years down the road, all of a sudden your fingerprints start showing up and they start getting registration of you being there again. Okay, but you cannot go backwards. So this idea of going back and altering something that has happened, I heard it explained once really well. If you take a look at everybody, the mainstream, like you take a look at a school of fish, they're all going one direction. Okay, and let's call that your time stream. Now, one fish goes back into the past. For that one fish, okay, he goes this way, but the past becomes his present, and the future becomes his past. Okay, so his past going back down the line is not his past. It's just further back down the line from where the others were. But because of the fact the vibratory rate is completely out of sync, you cannot interact with it. So the idea of going back in the past and doing something like killing Hitler before Hitler was a problem doesn't work. It would unravel the entirety of reality. Now, going forward is not a problem. But, of course, you go forward, you can't get back here to tell anybody what you did. I mean, if you think about it, if time travel were possible, there wouldn't be a pauper on the planet, because they'd all go back and find out what the lottery numbers were and bid on them so they didn't lose everything they owned. Or so they all of a sudden had a better income.
Right. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's move on here to another question. Mr. Smith Conspiracy is asking, which alien race is the most talkative?
Well, they're not an alien race. They're an ancient race that actually lives here. But the Parake, they just don't shut up.
Oh, those poor guys.
I mean, technically they do. They will eventually wear themselves out and go to sleep. But even a lot of the time they talk in their sleep. So I would have to say they're probably one of the most talkative. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the most communicative.
Now, what species was that again?
Parake.
Parake. Where are they located?
Inside Earth. They are an ancient race. Okay, and they are extremely curious, very shy. You may run into them in the woods. They're similar to what some of the smaller ones humans would have identified as brownies back in the Middle Ages, or back during the real height of the witch hunts. But they're a little race. They're very creative. In modern terms, many people would liken them to either very short, extremely short dwarves. But they are built. They look very similar to humans. Okay, they do run barefoot. They don't like a lot of clothing in the first place. Right, but they chatter an awful pile. And yeah, they're very good at mimicking animal sounds. Bird, whether it's bird or whether it's mammal doesn't matter. They don't mimic reptile sounds very well, but of course, reptiles don't make a whole lot of real audible sounds. I mean, they do if you've got good hearing, but...
All right, Kira is asking, if there are more sightings when Mars is nearest Earth, why is that? Is there a portal or energy that allows them to come through near Mars?
No. They bring their ships, and the reason for it is because Mars is occupied. But when Mars gets closer to Earth, it makes it easier for a field trip. As in, they bring their kids here on a school outing. That'd be why the jump. Because Mars isn't really that far away.
No, I understand that. Could it be that we are actually seeing the ships from the secret space program heading to Mars?
Wouldn't be a shock. Mind you, the secret space program isn't really as secret as you might think.
Well, I still want to know where they're parked. Jennifer is asking, are some aliens unhappily trapped in human bodies like they were tricked and are now stuck?
It's not exactly, the answer is sort of yes, but it's not exactly aliens that are trapped. What happens in some cases is because humans, when they die, they reincarnate. Well, so does every other race. But what happens is sometimes when you get a reincarnation, somebody will incarnate in human form, but their primary and dominant memories will be of their last race. And when they manifest as a human, they do not adjust well. Okay, so they may well look at it and go, I'm not human, I just don't identify that way at all. And they probably don't. I've run into some people that just could not adapt. Right. But are there any that are trapped in them as in being caged inside a human body, not that I'm aware of. And rest assured, archons, they don't get trapped inside human bodies. They get too big and then the human body blows up, which is why they don't stay that long.
Gotcha. All right, moving on. Kira's asking, do black cats have the ability to protect humans from extraterrestrials? What ETs really don't like cats?
Well, I know the Teklik like them. Mind you, the Teklik like humans. That being said, cats can't exactly protect humans from ETs, but what they can do is identify them more readily, which the awareness of them can alert humans to their presence, which that gives the humans the upper hand to be able to protect themselves. Now, on the other hand, Laborians and cats get along absolutely fabulously. Of course, in all fairness, Laborians are feline.
True. Very true. All right, let's move on. Joe is asking, if we see our doppelganger, we should kill it before it kills us?
Karmic law, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. If it's not being aggressive towards you, there's no point in killing it. Because some of them just take on an appearance so they don't get shot by somebody else. Or so they don't get bagged by somebody else. See, it's like any other race. No one race has a cookie cutter perspective. Every doppelganger is not a murderer. As a matter of fact, very few of them are in fact murderers. And they don't consider it murder anyway. They just consider it part of life. Lions don't consider antelope and don't consider their killing of an antelope murder either.
True. All right, let's move on to another question. Kat the Kid is asking, what is the tastiest alien life form for the human palate?
Tell you what, find me a static human palate and we might have something to discuss.
Come on, Keith. You know what we want.
I know exactly what you want, and I can't give you an answer. Because of the variety in the human palate. I mean, there are a staggering number of...
Let me re-ask this. What is Keith's delicacy of extraterrestrials?
Oh, I've always had a very simple philosophy.
If it tastes like McDonald's, you're going to eat it?
Nope. If it ain't moving, it's possibly game. That being said, certain textures I won't touch. But that applies to all food.
Greco is asking, is there a universal currency?
No. There is a currency that the Galactic Consortium uses, but it is not like what people are thinking in the way of, cryptocurrency or, ones and zeros currency. They have a whole different policy, consideration. But they use it is more often a question of a barter system. What can you do? What are you willing to do for me in order for me to do this for you? It's not actually an exchange of money as humans understand it.
Okay. Magnus wants to know, on the topic of Pluto, do you believe writer H.P. Lovecraft was in contact with or correct about his assessment of extraterrestrials?
Well, was he in contact with? I have no doubt. Okay, I do know, especially with his description of Cthulhu, I do know that he was in, and by his description of that, he had to have gotten it direct. He gave it a little more power for purposes of creative writing, but the description of what Cthulhu was capable of is very real.
Okay.
And especially when you look at the speed his mind worked, right? He had some absolutely bizarre outlooks, but they were only bizarre because people didn't understand them. Okay. But the nice part about it is, he was a phenomenal writer, right? And he revealed some interesting, they called a lot of his writing, they called it science fiction. A lot of his writing was closer to unrevealed science fact.
All right, let's move on to Stacy's question, because we got a lot of questions to go here. Do super soldiers exist doing the 20 in back and rejuvenation?
Well, number one, the super soldier, I don't know what the 20 in back thing is.
They go for 20 years, they get their minds erased when they come back, okay. and they get re-aged to their young age again.
Number one, do super soldiers exist? The answer is yes. Can they be rejuvenated? The answer is also yes. Now, is that a standard practice? I wouldn't bet on it. Because after a certain amount of time, if you're constantly doing that, the nerve relays collapse, and they become harder and harder to, if you will, program. I mean, picture, if you will, taking a TRS-80 computer in today's world and see how well that would work. Because the I/O system is completely changing over years. And you got to remember, the super soldiers that they're talking about are designed based on what they've got. Okay, and based on the modern system. Well, as time goes on, the old super soldiers cannot adjust to the new systems. And because they're not programmed, it's not like you program a computer and get it to handle new software. You actually have to take into consideration the hardware, and the hardware is not always compatible.
All right, let's move on to another question, R. Keith Andrews. Smithy wants to know which aliens have the best beards.
That's the easy part. And they will, well, that would be a rude thing to say. The ones with the best beards you would know as the mythological dwarves. There is no question they put more pride in their beards than anything. And yes, they are very much akin to what people have learned about dwarves. If they're breathing, they're drinking, it's just that simple. But their beard is, both on the men and the women, their beards are their status marker. Worst thing you can do to a dwarf would be cut his beard off. I mean, that's just going to get you hurt.
All right, moving on, because we got a bunch more questions. Evan is wondering, any Major League sports teams for aliens?
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz on the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
Oh, okay. Not the way he's referring to, but yes, they do have their own versions of sports teams. Just a lot of the time, they're a lot more violent than human versions. Like, for instance, when you're playing baseball and the baseball is designed to detonate on impact, it's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, I watched one game. They actually designed it where the impact is what sets the bomb. So you either catch it or you get the heck away from it. And they just call that fun. But in all fairness, no, they did not invent baseball. That was the Vegans actually stole baseball from Earth, or more to the point, stole a variation on it.
All right, next question. Greco is asking, is it possible to conquer the strongest alien race with a creative computer virus or paywall?
Not a snowball's prayer. Let me put it this way. Off-world computers are built by the off-worlders. Take a Terran abacus and try and hook it up to a modern computer. See how much headway you make. It's a great storyline for Hollywood. It's an absolute godsend. But in the real world, you're not going to do it with a modern computer from Earth.
All right, next question. Jenny is asking, do you feel that Dave, a.k.a. me, has had hybrid guests on this show?
Well, I'm going to answer that question in this way. Because I haven't actually watched a whole lot of frankly, I really haven't watched a lot of your shows, Dave. It would not shock me in the slightest. But that being said, would I even tell you? Not a prayer.
Why not?
Because the next logical question is somebody's going to ask who, and I'm going to go, I'm not telling you.
The Max wants to know, when the CIA showed up at your door, what did they want?
They wanted the information I had on the UFOs. They literally came to my doorstep looking for me by name. So I sat down with them. I talked to them. That went over well. Well, in my eyes. They weren't quite so happy with it. But they were looking for insight into what I knew about certain alien situations. So I told them what I could, and of course, then the woman made the mistake of going, "Well, you haven't told me anything that our government doesn't know." My response to her was a little less than, shall we say, politically correct, and certainly not politically sociable. But then I've never claimed to be politically correct.
No, not you. Not you, my friend. That experience, do you think it happens a lot more in Canada and in the United States than what we know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when they say they don't have jurisdiction, that means we're not going to tell you.
What would cause an alphabet agency like the CIA to show up at your doorstep?
There's only one thing I can see. When people talk about, and this is why I don't worry about who knows what I'm doing on the computer. You see, they had my name. Now, the CIA theoretically has no jurisdiction in Canada. Right? But they already knew before the internet became a massive thing exactly where I was. Right? They knew precisely where I was. Okay. So what they do is they watch, and they will check with whoever they can. But the reality of it is, because the other logical question is, why have they let me live, and why haven't they given me death threats? Well, because after they murdered me they didn't actually do it. But after I died the first time at the hands of somebody very deliberately, I think they gave up on the idea. But the reality, I don't talk about they shouldn't be there. because the agencies are necessary. The government is necessary for society to evolve. But they were looking for information on a very specific setup with a very specific group of aliens. Only they didn't want the answer. They didn't want to admit that they didn't have the information they were looking for. Which begged the question in my eyes, well, if you already know that, why are you here? You know? She didn't like me much.
No. Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. 2 hours down, 1/2 hour to go with our Keith Andrews on the ET Connection. Then we're going to bring in John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report. It's aliens all night long, UFOs. We love it when our Keith Andrews is here because the Woo train is always packed and always rolling. We're in 6th gear. Here we go. All right, Keith, we're clear.
Okie doke. I noticed you haven't taken your dogs out at all tonight. How come?
They're sleeping upstairs.
Ah.
I'm trying also not to go outside during the breaks.
Ah. Makes sense.
You're right, Chris Reap. Dave would look badass with tattoos. One day I will get my sleeves done. One day.
See, that's the thing. I like tattoo art. I'd never get it done to me personally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I like a lot of the artists and a lot of the artwork that's done.
All right. Big thank you to Cat Chaser for the super chat. I'm almost there. I am now only 21 or 20 minutes behind. Hi, William F. Metz. In Keith's mug is coffee. All right. Who else has showed up here? Almost there. Doc Holliday, how you doing, buddy? Let me get to... where is it? I accidentally drove past one here. Are you familiar with the Rendlesham Forest incident?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I know people keep talking about it, but...
Yeah, that's... Al Bielek, story, Space Cow, he was a fraud. That's why I'm not getting into that question. He was debunked with his buddies a number of years ago. It's too bad, too, because I loved that story. I really did. All right. And...
Read what YJ just printed?
No, like I said, dude, I'm trying to catch up on the chat room here.
Yeah. No, I just caught up to theirs. I don't even know who they are, but they says, Dave doesn't ask my questions anymore. He's boycotting me.
No. That YJ, that is so not true. YJ actually lives, I believe, in Lake Country or Kelowna, one of the two.
No.
Yeah, like your neighbors. You could meet at taco time.
I was going to say, no, I'd meet at Wings. I'd go to one restaurant in Kelowna.
Oh, Wings is good. Wings is good. All right,
yeah.
John Jackson, how you doing? B. Hoff, welcome back. I'm trying really hard to catch up here in the chat room, guys. Anthony, how you doing? Thanks for coming on in. And where is Spookles the cat? Where is Spookles the cat? All right. Let's see here. Ah, oh, damn it, I just screwed that up.
Oops.
Oh, well, we'll go backwards. Brett Lewis is here. We can officially start the show. Jay Foxhunter, how you doing? I just want to catch up to the bottom. Tammy Shoemate, how is it going? Welcome to our chat room. And keep going on down. Starflower, welcome to SOR Chat. Magnus Magnuson Magnus and G West, thank you so much for those super chats. Really appreciate it. And I am going to try and get all the questions in. I'm just burning through the chat room right now. Mark Sanchez, nice to have you here. Let's see here. I will scroll my way up to get back in line here. I'm only about 6 minutes behind right now.
That's not bad.
Gnome Squatch. Anastasia Podsiadlo, how are you? Welcome to our chat room. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new here. We'd appreciate that. Ring that bell, too. We are literally here 7 days a week. 10:59. I'm 5 minutes behind. Black Dragon, thank you for another amazing super chat. Really do appreciate that. And who am I missing here? Spooky. Oh, I got it. 11:04. I made it. I friggin' made it. Larry Cebulski, how you doing, man? I gotta go back 20-some minutes. Oh, that's like back like 3 hours or 2 hours. All right. Now I gotta find myself here. All right, we're past there. 10:24. I think we were up here a little bit. Nope. Almost there. Thank you to all our super chatters tonight. Really do appreciate it. And we're going to kick off hour number 3 here in just a few seconds. So sit back, relax, get your horns up. Bumblefoot's coming. Yeah, the big B. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Negentropy. Negentropy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, once again, spacedoutradio.com. Here comes our Keith Andrews. We got him till the bottom of the hour on the ET Connection, and we're going to continue taking your audience questions about UFOs, aliens. Doc Holliday has a quick question here for you, Keith. What are aliens are the hottest, as in the sexiest?
Well, oddly enough, that depends on who you're asking and what you're looking for. From a human standpoint, likely the Orions. You know, on a general run. Although, in all fairness, the Venusians are much more adept at things. So it's sort of a toss-up depending on what catches your attention. But from a human perspective, those are the two that sit best. No, I correct myself. There is one, and it's not so much a race. Well, it is, but we knew them as Amazonians.
Yes.
Okay. Problem is their attitude where it comes to males are
Don't care.
a little less than functional.
Don't care. Don't care. They're gorgeous. All of them.
That they are.
All right, let's move on because we got to burn through a bunch of questions here. Jeremy is asking, did humans start on Mars and then seeded here once Mars went to crap?
Nope.
All right, good. Bomber is asking, are White Walkers dangerous?
Only if you tick them off.
What is a White Walker?
Well, you know what? You've heard me talk about shadow walkers?
Yes.
White walkers are literally diurnal shadow walkers.
All right.
Shadow walkers are nocturnal. White walkers are diurnal.
All right. Evan is wondering, is Nibiru coming?
Well, technically Nibiru's here, but yes.
When?
Now that I can't tell you. Primarily because they don't exactly tell me what their flight itinerary is.
All right.
But what I do know is they are not coming here to conquer.
Grandmaster is asking, where's the deep underground bases on Mars?
Well, I think he just identified that. If you're asking for doorways, I'm not giving them.
Well, you're not very nice.
No, but I am honest.
True. Sometimes honesty sucks.
No doubt.
Jenny is asking, how do ETs live? Do they have climate change?
Every planet has climate change. And as for how they live, it depends entirely on which race. And which planet, for that matter. I mean, if you go to Zeta Reticuli, you watch out more for the plants than you do for the animals as far as predators go. If you go to the homeworld of the Srazazians, don't go outside in a sandstorm unless you're Srazazian.
Follow up from Jennifer. In the Talmud, it tells us that some beings can't cast a shadow. Any aliens fit the bill?
There are some that know how to bypass that problem, but they can say, but any race can cast a shadow. They just have to modify their vibratory rate to be picked up by the sun.
Chris is asking, in Austria, did you have a celebration in the name of the one and only Gene Roddenberry?
Did I? No.
All right. Greg is asking, does the dwarf race have pubs? Is only ale served, or do they have mixed drinks?
That's kind of like asking if Earth has oxygen. There isn't a dwarven community, a dwarven house that doesn't have a pub.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So we got a bunch of little drunk gnomes running around the forest, is what you're saying.
Quite often, yes.
All right. Trinitro is asking, do aliens have their variety of beers?
Absolutely.
Guaranteed they don't like IPAs. Oh, IPAs are terrible. I don't care what anybody says. Chris Reap, do aliens have religion?
Absolutely. And the good news there, I actually have that all written in the book. Like every one of the races in the books, I've actually covered the basis of their religion.
All right. Robert is asking, will aliens help us with saving us from nanotechnology?
Humans are creating it. Humans will have to deal with it. And of course, in all fairness, if you ask the Mechlanoids to help you with nanotechnology, they'll look at you and go, "What's wrong with it?"
Greco in Toronto is asking, what alien race is considered the alien enemy to all other species?
None. There is no one race that is a categorical enemy to every species. Okay, there. And where did I put it? Over there. I just got to look up what the actual name of it is again. This is why I wrote the dang thing down. Because trying to keep them all straight in my own head is a royal pain in the neck. But, give me 5 seconds here. There we go. The Xenon. They are not considered the enemy of all races. but they are one of the more volatile because they are not flesh and blood.
All right, Tammy is asking, what crystals do aliens use for travel?
Very few of them do. I mean, quartz is a great crystal from that standpoint. I'm presuming she's referring to, as in circa Star Trek, the dilithium crystals. And the thing with crystals is all of them will carry energy. And if you align the right configuration, that's how you get a good engine running. But of course, if you look at the Vulcans, they themselves are crystal anyway.
All right, let's rock and roll to the next one, man. This one comes from Anastasia, new to our chat room. Thank you for joining us, Anastasia. How long do aliens live?
Anywhere from 35 Terran years to a few billion.
John Swan is asking, are you an alien, R. Keith Andrews?
Now that, I have never bothered getting any Terran to actually check. Do I think like a standard human? Not even remotely. Well, technically remotely. But I'm not about to go through the lab testing again. I've already done that once.
All right. Anastasia again, are there any alien races that are banished? Probably from Earth.
There have been a few that have been obliterated right off the map. Because of the fact that they broke consortium law.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Bad internet is bad for business. We've all been there. Lagging video chats, slow downloads.
Oh, come on.
It's just not a good look. Instead, call C Spire Business. Our local experts deliver gigabit speeds backed by thousands of miles of fiber for the fastest, most reliable internet around. Period. No excuses, no apologies. Just fiber-fast internet that works. C Spire Business. See how our fiber solutions can help power your success at cspirebusiness.com.
Follow up. Is there any way to block aliens from making contact?
Yeah, that wouldn't even work. Not that I'm aware of. You know, the idea back in the 70s of the tinfoil hat was a complete wash job. Didn't work worth a hoot.
Okay. So they could get you anywhere, anytime if they want. That's what you're saying.
Ultimately, yeah, they really could.
All right. Greco, do other alien races have their own version of the Fae?
No, but they do deal with the Fae. I mean, well, I guess technically they do, because if it's on a different planet, it ends up being a different version of it. Because the Fae are a Terran-based race.
Black Rabbit is asking, Keith, do you have an opinion on the Raw material, Law of One, channeled contact from the early 1980s? The group was a non-profit out of the mid-U.S. LL Research.
The sad reality of it is I don't know what the raw material was. So, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you. But this is why I tell people it's very rare that I do any research. Quite frankly, the fact that I looked at the research that Dave asked me to was a direct request before the show.
All right. Anastasia again. Are there any alien races that don't get along?
Oh, Lord, yeah. Let's see. We can start with the Teklak and the Strazazi, and they don't get along at all. The Wara and the Sasquatch are not good friends. You know, and of course, because your Elfid and the Dwarves don't get along well. I mean, they can tolerate each other sometimes. But, I mean, when you go and you deal with the Drakes, well, they don't technically get along with anybody. Because they simply figure they're better than everybody. Which really throws certain humans offline, because, amazingly, the humans find that, according to the Drakes, no, you really aren't the center of the universe.
Makes sense. All right, let's go to Doc. How many Chad Smiths could a Chad Smith if a Chad Smith could Chad Smith? That is, I'll take that one, Keith.
Okay.
The number is 4. 4. That's what it comes down to. The number 4. I can't get any better than that. Now that's an accurate reading by me. It does get more accurate than that, Keith.
Yeah, no, I can go with that. That works.
All right, Keith, we got 10 minutes left before we have to say goodnight to you, so we got a lot more time for audience questions here. As we are moving on towards, what brings ET contact, is there anything we could put in our house or put in our living area that could attract the good ETs from coming down and saying hello?
Not that I'm aware of. See, they come down. They come looking for people for a specific purpose on their end. But there are so many different purposes that trying to pin down one thing that'll work. I've yet to discover it. Of course, I haven't looked for it much. But I don't know of anything that would draw one specific type. Or one specific, if you will, thought line.
All right, Nikki is asking, how about the Lyrans or Laborians? Are they as sexy, beautiful furred bodies?
Well, that depends on who you talk to. And like I said, as far as humans go, probably not, because most humans don't like that much fur on a person's body. I mean, Lord knows, athletically, they are definitely well put together, especially the Laborians. Lyrans, not so much so. Well, some of them are, but yeah, we're just not going there, Chris.
All right, Tony, who is on the far side of the moon?
Who isn't is a shorter list. The reality is it's a transit point. As in, dang near everybody and their dog goes there.
Why?
It's a trading center. And that's trading, not training.
Okay. What are they trading over there?
You name it, it probably is up for grabs. Whether it's technology, whether it's biologics, and yes, whether people like it or not, slave trading is alive and well in the great wide outer space.
Greg is asking, do the Council of 12 have bodyguards?
Only in as much as the Council of 12 are protected by everybody that isn't on the council. But they don't have a specific bodyguard. They do, however, have 12 replacements already lined up in case one of the 12 die. And they've got a second set of 12, so you've actually got 36 council members ready to step in at a moment's notice. But they're already elected from the standpoint of, okay, if number 3 dies, that guy gets to take his place. Right. If number 12 dies, that one takes his place.
Mark is asking, can some higher beings help us remember our past lives?
Absolutely. The good news is there are some humans that can do the same thing.
Jennifer is asking, are some aliens actually angels?
Yeah, it's called a race called the Angelus. The Angelus are what humans call angels. And yes, they look very much like humans, except they have extremely large wings.
All right, Peppa H is asking, is Keith an experiencer? Yes. Yes, he is. That's why we bring him on for the woo. Heavy, heavy woo. All right, moving on here as we continue on with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. Keith, out of all the experiences you have had over the years, I know we've asked you your scariest, your weirdest. Is there one that really hit you emotionally?
Yeah. It was actually an abduction when I was a kid. I would have been somewhere in the neighborhood 8 years old, and I got taken by the Talon. That one left me an absolute wreck. It's also one of the biggest reasons why I don't travel well. Because that one had it still has a problem. I still have trouble dealing with it. Talons they look like ants, but they're web spinners.
Scary. GameVet is asking, can our Keith, that's you, explain what type of ship sprays fog around itself and where does it come from?
Actually, it's not which type. There's a lot of them that do it, but it's not spraying fog around themselves. They're ionizing the atmosphere. And then drawing it around themselves. It's actually pulled straight out of Terran atmosphere or many other planets. But it's a byproduct of the energetic output. It's actually tied right directly to the OTE drive.
All right. Big J wants to know, are women from Venus?
Well, there are Venusian women. But there are also Venusian men. And the answer to that is yes, there are males from Mars, there are men from Mars, but they are not little green men. They are green, but they aren't little. But there are also female Martians.
Interesting. Okay. Let us continue then. And let's see here. There's the question. Tammy is asking, what is the total count of alien races out there?
I haven't got a snowball's prayer of even giving a remote guess. I mean, I could call it a remote guess. In the consortium, I've heard quotes of approximately 2,500 member races. But that is nowhere near the numbers. Take a look at the stars out the window. Take a look at the sky. Take that number of stars and just count one race per star. Bear in mind, not all stars carry races, but some races carry more than one, or some stars carry more than one. That'll give you a rough idea.
All right. Bomber wants to know a little bit more about these White Walkers.
Basically, they are the diurnal counterpart to the Shadow Walkers. By your definition, they would be vampires that hunt during the day. Which, by the way, adds a whole new dimension to terror. So from that standpoint, do they hunt humans? Certainly. Okay, but are they sanctioned to hunt humans? No. Little hard to stop them on occasion, though. See, the problem is they don't look at humans as another race. They look at them as a food source. Yeah, which is not a pleasant thought for most humans.
Keith, we have 2 minutes to go tonight on Spaced Out Radio. It is always a pleasure to have you here once a month. Come in, turn up the woo, explain a lot of stuff that is usually way over the majority of our audience's heads, and that's exactly what we love you for, man. Exactly what we love you for.
Well, thank you very much. It has been I couldn't do this if we didn't have the questions. And the audience has been great for that. And something I would like to point out to the people, if they ever actually want to sit down with me for coffee, I don't travel very far. It's just that simple. At least not from Terran terms. Am I willing to meet people? Yeah. That's the easy part.
How much do you charge for the audience to touch your sideburns?
That depends on who they are and what the reason for it is.
I can guarantee you next time I'm in Kelowna, British Columbia, I'm coming over to tug those chops, man.
I have no doubt about that.
Hey, do us a favor quickly here. Tell everybody where they can find your YouTube channel and your books.
That's the easy part. My YouTube channel is Inner Voice Enterprises. And you find the books are easy to track down. You can contact me at any one of the contact points listed below the videos. The series of videos I'm doing right now is called The Journey. And that'll get you in touch with me pretty much through anywhere.
All right. Well, my friend, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the ET Connection. You are one of the best out there when it comes to discussing all these weird, strange topics and kind of adding a little glue to the ball as we try to solve the puzzle pieces that we call UFOs and extraterrestrial content. And Keith, you're one of the best. Thank you so much again for coming on the ET Connection. We will talk to you next month.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
All right, coming up next, we have the unidentified or unbiased UFO report. We have Shirky Poo's News Wire, Thought of the Dave, and then for our YouTube audience, the after show. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues. Great job, Keith.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I still am amazed at how well you handle the number of different screens you've got going.
I missed a bunch of questions there, and I know some people get pissed off with me about it, but, I mean, please forgive me. I'm a one-man show doing my best to try and keep up, and I know you guys all understand that. But YJ, if you're still here, I honestly did not see a single question from you, dude. A single question, and I know there's a number of questions that I did miss. This is why we always ask to put the questions in capital letters, so that way I don't miss them very much.
I had somebody actually take me up on it the other day. I keep telling people if a question gets missed, you can absolutely drop me a line and ask the question. I will do my best to answer it. I actually had somebody take me up on that the other day.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you, Greg Moyes, for an awesome super chat. Really do appreciate that. I'm worn out after all those questions, man. I am worn out. Friday nights, we always seem to stay late, everyone. John, when he gets on, we always seem to stay late. Keith, I will let you go. I got to get ready for John here.
Absolutely.
We'll talk to you soon, okay, buddy?
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, bud.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Our Keith Andrews, everyone. The ET Connection. We love him. We love that guy. Yeah, where is Fap tonight? Is he doing the late night bingo tour or what? Ange, I don't know if you were in the chat room earlier when I made mention, because I was so behind in the chat room. But I do want to talk with you privately about the whole eating healthy and working out thing. Would like to talk about that. Dave's got some weight to lose. Not going to lie. Dave's got some weight to lose. For those of you who may not know, the Dave 101, my vlog, is on our YouTube channel, which you guys could check out. We've done 3 of those so far. Do it once a week, every Thursday. So you can go to our YouTube channel and check it on out. Where's Stetson John? I hope he didn't fall asleep. We got like 1 minute, dude. 1 minute. All right, I want to say a big thank you to Greg, Chris, Black Dragon, G West, Magnus, Cat Chaser, Chris again, Greco, Adam, Mandingo, Vinster, Crazy Smith, Black again, Brock, Flash Forward, Space Cow, Nicola, Crazy Smith, Greg, Mandingo again, Crazy Smith again, Lori, Jenny, Ange, Swampy, and Black Dragon. Much love for all of the super chats tonight. Really appreciate it. And there's little Johnny Hudson right there. The man in the black Stetson, almost giving me a heart attack.
Sorry about that, buddy.
That's all right. That's all right. I still love you. All right. Let's clear the screen.
You look pretty good as Gandalf, man.
What's that? Here, hold on. Rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. It is time once again for the unbiased UFO report. Stetson John Hudson comes on in to break it all down with the latest in UFO news. And we're going to start off with little Tommy DeLonge. He makes another appearance as he tries to rebuild his grandiose idea of the To the Stars Academy, this time doing an interview with Mashable. What happened there?
Well, first off, hello everyone. Thank you for listening. So this is actually a pretty trippy setup in multiple ways, because first off, you have Tom talking in a very casual way. He appears to just be like sitting on the beach or something with his phone. And
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Anyone can be ready for back to school, but with Staples Connect, you can be more than ready. Like, I got everything from my classroom and saved a ton ready. We've got more backpacks, more pens, and more supplies than you ever thought possible. So double knot your shoes, gas up the minivan, and smear war paint on your face. Staples has everything you need and more for the new school year. Let's do this. Just visit your nearest Staples store or go to staplesconnect.com for inspiration.
Earpiece in, it's very casual. And you know, he actually he says some interesting things. You know, I mean, he does definitely try to recover, you know, some of his credibility and so forth. And let's face it, if he really is going to continue the media thing, he doesn't have a choice, right? But one of the things he said that really caught me off, that I thought was interesting, I should say, is that he specifically said that he said that he doesn't, he basically said, I don't look at these as ET. He said intelligence is manipulating electromagnetics, gravity, time, and consciousness. I look at these as displacement craft coming from a parallel reality, and that is a really crazy thought. And that was one of the things he said. And this isn't new for him. This is something he's been saying. He actually gave a really good analogy interview he did recently where he said it's very much like how a submarine displaces water, that these objects might displace time or might displace, you know, a reality. So this is not a new thing for him to say, but he did kind of, you know, wax poetic in a way, talking about it. But what was really interesting is that the way they edited it, because what they did is they took his issue and they cut it up in sections, and in between those sections, they inserted debunkers, essentially. They had several scientists on, and they had Mick West in there. And so basically you'd have Tom, you know, talk, you know, you a little further out onto the cliff, and then they would cut to some, you know, scientists going, well, you know, it's all very interesting, but until we have some hard data we can look at in the lab, most of my most of my fellow workers basically say, look, until you have data that I can look at in a lab, don't bother me with this, right? Sightings aren't useful in a laboratory. And so he would say that, and then they would cut back to Tom talking about some aspect of the phenomenon. And so it's this weird kind of schizophrenic back and forth presentation of it. But all in all, Tom doesn't come out all that bad.
You know, either way, though, I mean, is he trying to save face here by doing this after the embarrassment of the TSA?
Well, wouldn't you? I mean, the thing is that fundamentally, he still believes in this stuff, you know? And like, I was listening to a panel that you were on a while ago, that Bob McGuire was on, and Bob McGuire said something really, really well and really pertinent, and that was that, you know, as soon as those WikiLeaks articles got released, as soon as it was discovered that Tom was talking as freely as he did about who he was talking to, giving names to people as freely as he did in open email, he became a piranha. No one would talk to him after that. He would become just like more than radioactive, right? Mm-hmm. And he's talked about how crushed he was from that, you know? And so, but he does believe he really does this for his own personal passion. And so I don't think he has any choice but to try to recover, especially if he's going to continue to try to build the media side of his business. And we know he is working on at least one movie.
I just think that, you know, I don't wish him any ill will or anything like that, but he's one of those guys, man, that I just wish would go away. You know, I mean, it's nothing against him. I don't believe the TTSA narrative. I don't believe the whole media, you know, narrative that they were controlling who could talk to the members. I don't believe a lot of that. I don't believe he set up the TTSA at all. I think he was brought in to be a patsy on that. And I don't know. I want to go back to liking Tom DeLonge, the musician. Okay, I really liked Blink-182. That's the way I want to remember him. You know, not that he's dead or anything like that. But I just...
No, totally. No, I mean, I get what you're saying, because, you know, it's pretty hard to look at him now and see him as a positive thing.
He made a mockery.
In the UFO world.
You know, he made a little bit of a mockery of the entire genre, man. He did. Yeah. I don't care what anybody says. And I will argue that
some of the messages he was putting out were just, right. I mean, they were not welcomed.
No, exactly. So, but anytime he speaks, I'm telling you, man, it is like fingers on a chalkboard for me.
Yeah, it's hard because I totally get what you're saying, and I think a lot of people agree with you, and sometimes I feel the same way. At the same time, I empathize with someone who, at some level he had it all, and he kind of blew it, and it was out of ignorance. But he still did, and I don't know. If I was him, I would have a really hard time walking away from something I cared about as much as he seems to.
No, and I totally understand that. I totally get that. I just wish that he would stop and think a little bit. Stop and think a little bit. And it just doesn't seem like he knows how. I wish he would.
Yeah, well, if he was an actor, what would happen is he'd disappear for a couple years, and then he'd come back reinventing himself in some minor role and try to rebuild his credibility. And I don't know how you do that in his world.
I really don't know either. I really do not know. All right, let's move on to topic number 2 tonight, Stetson John. And that is Demi Lovato, the new television show where she's going to go out after sitting 3 times with Dr. Stephen Greer. She's going to go play aliens now.
Yes, and this is actually the article that I'm including in the notes is actually not just about the TV show. It also talks a bit about her fascination and how she got into it. But what I want to offer is I want to offer the audience a slightly different angle on this. Okay, so I have a daughter. Okay, and
Yes.
my daughter loves JoJo. Okay, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with JoJo, but JoJo's a singer performer that kind of made her name in the YouTube world, and she wears a bow in her hair, and she's very out there. She's actually seems like a really cool person. I've never met her, and my daughter just thinks she walks on water. And the other day, JoJo did a one-on-one, like a co-interview with Demi Lovato. Okay, and most of the interview was talking about all sorts of stuff, but 2 minutes into the interview, JoJo busts out with, "And I can't believe you went UFO hunting and didn't tell me." And Demi Lovato's like, "What? You would have wanted to go?" And she's like, "Absolutely. I totally want to go. I really want to see this." And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you. You totally could have come. Next time I go, I'll let you know." And then they moved on to their topic. I was like, I can't believe that just happened, right? I mean, it totally blew my mind. Like that conversation just popped out of nowhere. And to me, it illustrated why there is value in someone like Demi Lovato getting involved, right? Because she crosses bridges, she introduces new audiences, she helps introduce completely different people that wouldn't find it on their own to this topic. And in the end of it, this topic belongs to everybody. And it's important that everyone gets some level of education on it. And so I just, I want to just offer a different perspective because I think there is some value in what she's doing. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to, get all excited and sit down with popcorn and watch a show. I'm not trying to pass judgment, good or bad, on what she's doing. But I think her presence can have a very positive impact if she does it right.
And I agree with you on that. She is going to attract, with her YouTube followers, with her Twitter followers, Instagram followers, she is going to attract a lot of people to this. I just wish that she had more time to research and not just following the indoctrination of Dr. Stephen Greer, who, in my opinion, is questionable at best. At best.
I agree. And let's be honest. I know some people. I should post some pictures sometimes. I know some people who see these lighted objects in the sky, right? And some of them are astounding. I've seen some pictures that just blow my mind. Beautiful, just beautiful, beautiful pictures. But here's the thing: we actually don't really know if that has anything to do with Tic Tacs. We don't really know if that has anything to do with gimbal. We don't really know if that has anything to do with anything. There are so many weird things going on that we have to at least consider that they all might be connected, but we don't know for sure. And so it's very possible that she's only being exposed to this very, very sliver of the whole scenario and has no idea about the rest. And, that's the same indoctrination a lot of people are going to go through. And so if the audience can go through that indoctrination with her,
I would like to.
That has value as well.
You know what question I want to ask her, if I could ask her any question? Did she pay for Dr. Stephen Greer's CE5 courses? That is a question, because here's the thing. Greer has no problem charging a couple $1,000s for these events. All right? And I know when I tried to get him on this show a couple of years ago, one of the first questions that he sent me in a long diatribe was, how much do I get paid to do the interview? And I said, 0. I have never paid for an interview, and I've interviewed millionaires and billionaires way more popular than you. So my question is, Demi Lovato, being a very rich, successful young entrepreneur, did she pay for this course? Or did Greer look at this and say, well, let's take a look here. Let's go to Instagram.
If I was Greer, I would have not charged her, and I would have billed the cost of her not paying to my marketing department, and said, you're paying for advertising. Congratulations.
Okay, Demi Lovato has 114 million subscribers on Instagram. On Twitter.
Wow.
On Twitter. Let's see if we can find her here on Twitter. Okay. On Twitter, she has 54.6 million followers. Okay. So if you add that up, that's 170 million people, and I'm sure there's a lot of double ups there. Okay.
Sure.
I'm sure
But
there
still,
is.
The reach.
But the reach is incredible. And I would love for her to tell us, the public, who Stephen Greer is charging thousands of dollars to for his UFO courses and his alien courses. Did Demi Lovato pay for that, or did he do what he did when he was interviewed on the Logan Paul podcast and do it for free because of the numbers?
Or yeah, and it could have been a gift. I mean, honestly, just my personal opinion, I would be shocked if he charged her. It would be incredibly.
Oh, of course he didn't.
Ill-advised.
Of course he didn't.
It would be incredibly ill-advised. No.
Look, everybody is equal, but there are certain people who are more equal than others.
Absolutely agree.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Agreed.
To take that from
Absolutely
the Animal
agreed.
Farm.
Absolutely agree.
I don't think she paid. But I think that's a legitimate.
No.
I think it's a legitimate question to ask, because the follow-up is saying you can afford this. Okay.
Yeah.
And there are people who have had major experiences who are saving up an entire savings to take Dr. Greer's course. Do you think that's fair?
I know.
All right.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's rotten.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to interview Demi Lovato. I think the generations that she can get involved if her show is successful. Okay, I think it's good for ufology to get the people involved. I'll
tell you.
I would love to have seen her. Let me have the final word on this. I would love to have seen her, go to a few UFO conferences. Okay, go attend some conferences. Go hear a lot of the people speak, whether it's Richard Dolan or Grant Cameron or Melinda Leslie or watch some Stanton Friedman films. Okay? Do that. Get yourself indoctrinated. And maybe she already did. We don't know. Her publicists have her so heavily covered, she'll never do a show like this, or even a show like Coast to Coast AM. She'll never do it.
I wonder.
No, guaranteed. Too rich. Way too rich in the woo. Okay, so either way, we got one more thing we need to talk about before we have to say goodnight to you, and we are really running out of time here. And that is information versus doxing, because Alex Dietrich, the former Navy fighter pilot who chased down a Tic Tac, she had a little bit of a call out today on Anjali, the ET contactee, on Twitter.
Yes, and I want to, and I don't know if Alex ever watches the show, but I want to say just personally, I think Alex handled that beautifully. I think she handled it the exact right way, And and basically what happened was that Alex was involved in a thread on Twitter where she was trying to get up to speed with the whole situation. She was not aware of what's going on, and she was asking a ton of questions. And she referenced this timeline that I sent you and that I'll post later, and it covers a lot of deep information about it. And she was accused of looking for information and sharing information on Twitter that could result in not necessarily leaving docs, but her the contractor that helped her and some other people. And Alex stepped up and said, "No, look, that's not my intention. I've been subject to that myself. That's the last thing I want to do. I was just trying to get information." And to me, it drew to my attention something that we all have to be very cognizant of, and that is that we cannot want information so badly that we put the personal lives of people and the personal family lives of these people at risk. When you're publishing information, be smart about it. If cutting out a name, part of a name can help provide a little bit of anonymity for these people, do what you would want others to do. We got to be careful with this because this information can really hurt people.
Absolutely.
But it's important information to share.
All right, John, thank you for another great edition of the Unbiased UFO Report. We'll see you in the after show in a few minutes on our YouTube channel. Let's get to the news. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the wacky, and the strange, and sometimes the near naked. There was a lot of TNA for the TSA to try and break down at a U.S. airport as an anonymous blonde woman decided to do some passenger shaming by showing up at the airport in lingerie. You may call it a bikini. I call it a nice panty and bra set. Yes. When you have a pool party at noon and Spirit Airlines flight to catch at 4 p.m., that was the headline. Humans of Spirit Airlines, an Instagram account that pokes fun at passengers on the often lampooned airline that is now referred to as an ultra-low-cost carrier. Indeed, the shocking footage of the mystery mischief maker was walking nonchalantly through the terminal in an unnamed airport while sporting skimpy olive green swimwear and toting a backpack. Looks like she was ready for a weekend in Vegas. Beautiful story here. A drone photographer in Argentina captured video of the moment a southern right whale swam up to a paddleboarder and gave the board a gentle push. Photographer Maxi Jonas posted the video to Twitter showing the southern right whale curiously approaching a woman on a paddleboard in Puerto Madryn. The whale gives the paddleboard a push with its fin before tracking the board's movements while swimming directly under it. The Puerto Madryn whale watching season started in May and runs right through December. Marcos Grosso, the city's tourism secretary, said more than 1,600 right whales, southern right whales, have been spotted near the Puerto Madryn shore so far this year. What a beautiful, beautiful animal. Could you imagine having that happen to you? And finally tonight, here in BC, 2 children and 1 man were attacked at Stanley Park in Vancouver by coyotes. That is 45 attacks by coyotes this year. This year. Now, if you look at Stanley Park, it is only 8 miles around. 8 miles. And it's all surrounded by concrete buildings and ocean water. How this is happening, I don't know. None of the 3 victims were badly injured. However, it is becoming a major problem in the Vancouver city and the park of Stanley Park. And if you've never been there, it's beautiful. So they got to figure out what they're going to do to keep people safe there. Thought of the day for today is, what is your opinion on aliens walking among us? Marlene says it's real, not just aliens. Gail, if they are, they're good at it, and if they aren't, it doesn't matter. Robin, we're not the same, I am a Martian. Sandra, they do, as I saw one that I thought was someone that I knew, but it turned out it wasn't. Joe says, most definitely. John, it's conceivable. I believe more and more inclined to believe that they are here. Lori, nothing new under the sun. They have been and always been moving in and out of our world. Sparkles, I believe I have seen 3. Rob, no opinion here. Penman, it's okay with me as long as they keep their distance, wear a mask, and keep their anal probes to themselves. Thank you to everybody on the Thought of the Day. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the news, John Hudson for the UFO report, and R. Keith Andrews for the ET connection. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone on YouTube, LGAB, Twitch, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.